And it's our paradigm that's controlling our behavior, and the behavior produces the results. I firmly believe I could show anyone how to be worth $1 million. Yet, it's not even a difficult thing to do. Yet, it's a rather simple thing to do. But if you're going to learn, you better go to people that know how to do it. See, I spent the first good part of my life going to people that didn't know any more than I did. I heard one woman say, you know, would I have to leave the people I'm surrounded by? Yeah, you sure will. Otherwise, they'll keep you where you are. They don't want you to leave. If you gave them a polygraph and checked them out and really sucked the truth out, they would say they want you to win, but they don't want you to leave. You know why? They're going to have to adapt to your absence. And when you leave, you have forced change on them. People do not resist change. People resist being changed. And when you leave, you have forced them to adapt to your absence. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. And you know something? That's what holds a lot of people down. Yeah, you're going to have to leave some of them. If they want to stay there, say, listen, I'm going. I was on the fire department in Toronto. I was the second person since 1934 to quit. No one ever quit that, and they couldn't fire you. When I quit, the chief kept saying, are you sure you know what you're doing? Now, yes, I kept saying yes, but I didn't. I wasn't sure. I was scared. But I've arrived at the conclusion, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much room. You got to get out there where the air's thin. And you want to keep expanding your level of awareness, because that's what it's all about. And as you become aware of how to do things, your whole world changes. I'm going to tell you something. My world has changed since I met Rhonda Byrne and met some of her people, because how they communicate is so much better than anything I've ever seen. I was telling the people on the Larry King show, I said, you know something? That woman has done something that has never been done before in our industry. I've been around our industry since it started. I worked with Earl Nightingale for 5 years. Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant literally started the personal development business insofar as recorded programs were concerned. And no one has ever done anything like they did with that DVD. And it is changing lives right and left. And it's making people more aware that you literally do attract things into your life. It's not an accident. You know, I attracted that film. They attracted me. I attracted them. I was really busy. I'm always really busy. And I don't know how people get my cell number, but a lot of people seem to get it. And the messages back up. I think I got about 250 emails right now, and I keep changing my email address. But that's part of the deal, you know. So at any rate, I got this message. I knew it was an Aussie cell number. I didn't quite get the number. I didn't really understand the woman's name. And so I just kept, you know, putting it aside. Didn't delete it, just set it aside. Well, after about 3 weeks, I said to Gina, my assistant, I said, Gina, I think this woman's name is Glenda. I think this is her phone number. She's talking something about a film. I said, phone and check it out and find out what she's talking about. Well, she phoned, and she said, it's a film crew that's in from Australia. They're shooting film here. They've studied your material. They really want you on this film, but they're going back next week. They've been trying to get a hold of you for a couple of weeks. And she said that this weekend they're finishing up their shooting in Aspen. And Gina says, isn't that strange? Bob's doing a seminar this week in Aspen. And I was working, and I hadn't been to Aspen, Colorado for probably a couple of years. But here I am, moving into a hotel right next door to them. I just walked next door, sat down, and walked out, and it was all done. And that's how it happened. And these things happen. You attract it. It was not an accident. But you see, as you expand your level of awareness, you move on things. But that's really what it's all about. It's about awareness. And that's really what you're going to get here this weekend. Now, I know you think it's important to get everything down in the book. It isn't important that you get everything down in the book. It's important probably you get some things down in the book, but you're not going to get everything down in the book. you know what's important? Is that you really listen and you gain an understanding of what we're talking about. Because with the understanding comes the awareness. And when you know, it doesn't matter how many people tell you it won't work, you can't do it, you'll know you can. Because you're aware. Yet really doesn't matter to me how many people say, oh, Bob, you should slow down, you know, you're getting older. What a bunch of crap. You know, I just don't buy into that kind of stuff. I have totally changed my paradigm about that. Age, gender, geography, none of that's got anything to do with where we're going. What's in here has got everything to do with where we're going. And so you see, you can go right back to the most ancient writings there is. From abundance, he took abundance, and still abundance remained. Now think about that for a moment. That comes from the Upanishads. That is the most ancient writings there is. From abundance, he took abundance, and still abundance remained. Now, you'd say, well, that's contradictory. You know, how could that be? Well, let me explain it this way. I want you to take a real deep breath, fill your lungs, and hold it for a moment. Come on, everybody, suck it in. Okay, now, from abundance, we took abundance, and still abundance remained. So we fill our lungs, we don't try and keep it, we let it go. We fill our lungs and let it go. That's the way it should be with money. We get it and we let it go. We get it and we let it go. See, circulation's the law of the universe. You got to keep it moving. If you try and hold on to it, you're going to lose it. You got to keep it moving. We've got to understand there's an abundance of everything because everything comes from the same formless substance. There is only one power. Everything comes from that power. We're talking about spirit. We're talking about energy. From abundance, he took abundance, and still abundance remained. And you know, Dr. Werner von Braun said that the natural laws of this universe were so precise that we don't have any difficulty building spaceships, we can send people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. Do you know that you could walk up and down the streets here in Melbourne or in Brisbane or in Sydney for a month, yet you could stop everybody you meet? The odds of you finding someone who understands what the laws of the universe are and how they operate, the odds are pretty slim. You won't run into one. And yet, your whole life is governed by law. Everything in your life is governed by law. You see, this molecular structure that you're living in, your body, it's a mass of molecules in a very high speed of vibration. If it moves into a negative vibration, it will break down. Yes, it moves into a positive vibration, it becomes very strong. What controls the vibratory rate of the body? You do. Your brain is an electronic switching station. You can flip yourself from one vibration to another. And in fact, you do. You see? We think we activate brain cells and that controls our vibration. Now, the vibration we're in not only controls how we behave, it controls what we attract. If you discipline your mind to see the good in everything, and good is in everything, if that's all you'll see, that's all you'll attract. But if you become obsessed with the problems in the world, the problems in your neighborhood, the problems in your life, that's all you will attract. The best thing you can do for poor people is don't be one of them. It's true. We want to start to understand these laws. We want to start to understand how they literally control our life. Now, when I first started to study this information, I didn't know any of this stuff. I really didn't. But you know, and I started to find out that most of the stuff I'd been trained to believe was false. You see? I was raised to believe if you're going to be wealthy, you have to be really smart. Well, I was earning over $1 million a year, and I knew I wasn't very smart. You know, relative to our generic definition of smart. Then I was raised to believe you can't do well in business if you don't have experience. Hell, I was doing well and I didn't have any business experience. Do you know what I found? You don't have to be very bright. You can hire bright people. It's true. I have all kinds of really smart people. I don't do anything that I don't like doing. I really don't. I just do the things I really enjoy. And I hire other people to do things they really enjoy. Yet we've got a team of people in our company that's second to none. We don't have anybody that manages anybody. Everybody's a self-starter. They're entrepreneurial in their thinking. They get out and they really make it happen. Now, this may sound like a utopian concept. No, it's real. It's happening right now. Yet you can do this. You can do this. You know what you have to do? You just have to get yourself in the right vibration.